Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Peace and love, y'all. This is Brother Ali's The Travelers Podcast. I'm recording this at, what time is it? 12:59 a.m. Sunday night, Monday morning, my time, here in Istanbul. It is the middle of Ramadan, and Ramadan is just leaving, and I just feel like, man, what am I doing? What am I doing? This is like, I wait all year for Ramadan and now it's already halfway over. And I've been working really hard. We've been working really hard. Myself and my partners, BK1, my man Justin, Unjust. We're releasing an album together called Love and Service. And it's very difficult. This time, it's way more difficult than I was expecting it to be. You know, we put an album out, well, not even an album. I just put out a collection of my self-produced 1-minute freestyles that I do on Instagram. I called them Brother Minister. It's kind of a flip on. Brother Minister was the community that I come from. And that it came from the Nation of Islam, where the ministers are called Brother Minister and Brother Captain and Brother so-and-so, you know. And everybody was called Brother so-and-so and Sister so-and-so. And the idea of it being a 1-minute thing, because at the time that I started several years ago doing those, Instagram let you post video up to 1 minute, but it had to be limited to 1 minute. So I would make a beat, flip a sample or something, and didn't write the song, would just think of a few bars and record it. And then once I got to 1 minute, that was it. And then I would mix it, put some sort of visual element to it, and then just release it. And I came up with a collection of those and pressed up 300 records. I just announced it. I said, these are $50. I only have 300 of them. And they were gone before I could even look up. And most people were upset with me because by the time I heard about this, they were already gone. By the time social media reached me with this, they were already sold out. And I said, yeah, sorry about that. They said, why don't you press more? You could make more money. I said, well, I told the people when I pressed them up that there would only be 300 and then they're gone. They say, yeah, you can make more money. Yeah, but I wouldn't be keeping my word to the people. So we stuck to what we said we were going to do. And then we put out a maxi single, which that's something from back in the day, you know, that you would have like a little small collection of a little small body of music, 3 songs, 2 songs, 3 songs. So we put together 3 songs, one called Going Through It, produced by me and Ant together. One was called More Than This, which was produced by Evidence, but it was made during the course of me and Evidence made an album together called Secrets and Escapes. And it was made during the course of that, and Evidence didn't really care for it. He said, this is a good song, it's fine, but it reminds me of what you used to do with Ant. This isn't the type of beat that I like to make. And I said, man, let me just take it. Let me just have it. Let me just put it into the world. He said, okay, but it can't be understood that this is somehow part of the work that you and I do together. I said, okay, I won't even really make a mention of the fact that you produced this. And so I didn't. And then there was a third song called The Old Way, which was a full song that I produced for myself. And so we put out 3. I said, okay, it's going to be 500 of these. They're $30, and they were gone like in a few days. Like I just put it on social media, they were gone. So now we have this full album, like a legitimate album, and put them on social. You know, we put them up, and not only is this a full album, but it's a chapter of my life that I really feel. You know, I don't just make a new album because it's a new year and that's what I need to do. I know a lot of people that do that, and I respect that very much. There are people that are artists that just practice their art every single day, and they're going to put an album out at least once a year. And I respect that thoroughly. I don't consider myself a superior artist to them. I also don't necessarily think that they're superior to me, but You know, I'm not a person that just makes music for the sake of making music. I'm becoming that way, honestly, because because of things like Brother Minister, I've developed a much more common practice of making music that's much more steady. But I make an album when I've had a major change in my life and I've changed as a person, and I want to make music about that. And so I made this body of work called Love and Service with a person that I didn't even know. I had a major kind of like detachment phase of my life. I realized that several of my relationships were not in places that were healthy. My relationship with the record label that I was in, that I was a part of for 20 some years, I was with them for a long time. I love every single person involved there. There's no tea, there's no shade, there's no scandal. It's just that that relationship had become deeply unhealthy, and I had become deeply unhealthy. And so I decided I wasn't going to do my business at that label anymore. And also my relationship with my city and with many of the communities that I was part of in that city was just deeply unhealthy. And it's because I was deeply unhealthy, and I had attachments and I had expectations and I had visions and ideas about what these relationships were that maybe a lot of times the other parties involved didn't even have. And and it really took me wanting to cash in, as it were, on these expectations. That I was like, wait, I'm giving this, and I thought that meant you were going to give this. And I just realized a lot of those things hadn't been communicated like that. And so I departed from my city, from my record label, from a lot of the communities that I was part of. And a lot of my relationships I either put on hold or changed. And there was a very few of them that didn't need to change. Because, as unhealthy as I may have been, those people weren't unhealthy, and they didn't require an unhealthy bond, you know. But it was a big deal for us to leave Minneapolis. It was a big deal for, and everything that was going on in the scene and in the communities. And at that time, it was like that for a lot of people, And so I came to Istanbul, and I believe that the creator, the divine, you can say the universe if you want to, put this person in my life, in my creative space, started through just the creative space. My man Justin, who for years went by Unjust, and now he's having a kind of a new relationship with that name. And I think he's transitioning into being known as Just. And he's the guest on the podcast next week, and I can't wait to share that conversation. BK1 is editing it now. We talked for over 4 hours. So BK is trying to put that conversation together now. Oh, man. And when we recorded it, we actually thought that it got lost. But BK was able to recover it, and he's editing it. But, this relationship started with he and I connecting over music. And I was going through a major, maybe the biggest transition of my whole life. I don't know. But leaving all of these things that I had become successful, all these things were successful. I mean, there's no doubt about the fact that a lot of the things that I set out to do and the spaces that I set out to do them in, that they were successful. And so to part from them, to depart from them, and to start this new chapter in my life was no joke. And I'm doing this when I can't earn money. And I was broke. Me and my wife were broke. And we don't have parents. And we don't have safety nets. And we don't have, we did have some help. We did have some really beautiful people that helped us, no doubt about that. But we came and started this new chapter. And at that time, I connected with Just, and we started making this music together. He just sent me a bunch of beats that were just for me. Just for me, Justforme. Shout out to anybody that knows that reference. Aida Rashid knows that reference probably, even though she probably never used that stuff. I don't know. Aida Rashid probably had natural hair, but I don't know. She's been a muhajiba hijabi the whole time I've known her, so I don't know. Oh, man. But So we made music together. We made a lot of it. And both of us really used this musical journey to heal from what was going on. And we poured our life into this album called Love and Service. And then Just is not only an amazing producer who makes music that just really helped me open up and heal and process what I was going through, but he also is an animator, illustrator, a visual artist. And he created the packaging for this album. And he created videos or digital shorts or animated vignettes for the entire project. But while this is happening, we're releasing this music, so we don't have a record label. We thought we were going to partner with a digital distributor who would really help. They're very good at working the algorithms. They have a lot of connections and know-how, and I don't know exactly how they do it, but I know that they're really good at making sure that these things get in front of the people that want to hear them, which is a maze. I mean, the music industry, it grows directly out of slavery. It grows directly out of gangsterism, out of crime. I mean, it's an industry that's created not to facilitate art getting to the people who want to hear it and experience it, but to rob both parties involved. That's what the music industry is. Now, there are people that come into it with different types of intentions because it is a reality that needs to be navigated. But like they build a maze in between artists, which is a gift from the creator, from the world of meaning, and the listeners, and it's a shared, beautiful thing that we give to each other. It's a gift that the creator gives us that we share together and that we give each other by connecting with each other. It's one of the most beautiful human things that comes from the world of meaning and connects us to the world of meaning. And it's a really very, very beautiful thing. And then this industry pops up to really rob both of us, to rob everybody involved. And they create a maze that needs to be navigated, and then they charge you to navigate it, and then they pretend that they're the most important piece of the puzzle. And everyone that tries to express themselves and be artistic and creative and inspirational for a living and try to make a living doing that because we want to dedicate our lives to it. Not because we're trying to get rich and famous, but just because this is a gift that I've been given. This is a calling that I have. And it deserves for me to dedicate my life to it. And there are people that want it from me. There are people that want to experience what I've got. And I don't want to gouge them and they don't want to short me. We all believe in the meeting and the coming together, and let's make this a mutually beneficial thing. But there's an entire industry there standing between us. And every time we're told that this new technology comes along, this new thing comes along, and it's going to somehow create some freedom, some unprecedented free exchange between us and them, they just rob us. They just rob us. Again and again and again and again. Whether it's radio or television or, streaming services, these people are robbing us. They say, well, this is going to be now the freedom. Everybody can upload whatever you want, whenever you want. You can just upload your stuff to streaming services. And they're going to pay us fractions of a penny. And if you don't get 1,000 streams in a certain period of time, then they're not going to pay you anything. They're actually going to pay your streams to bigger artists. This is the way that these streaming services work. And we're not going to tell you, we're not going to give you any analytics. We're not going to tell you anything. We're just going to do whatever we want. And the same with social media. The creatives are the ones that brought all the people to social media. On social media, across the board, it's just this way. This company that we thought was going to distribute the projects that we're working on this year, we thought that they were going to distribute this music, and we were going to give them a really sizable portion of the streaming because they know how to get it in front of people. So it's like, okay, cool. We sit with them, we meet with them. They're very happy. They're very excited about it. We're talking about plans. We're talking about, ways to distribute this stuff. And then things kicked up again in the Middle East. And the people in this organization, in this company, are all posting about one side of the conflict. They're posting specifically about the people of Israel. No post, no concern, nothing about the people of Gaza, of the people of Palestine, the Palestinians. No care or concern about that. These people also happen to be Jewish, And there's a network of people who also already work with us, talking about show promoters and people whose job it is to facilitate the things that we do. Promoters in some of my biggest markets, promoters of festivals, some of the biggest networks of festivals, promoters of some of the biggest clubs and most important. These are the places where I engage even in my live shows. And a lot of the people who are involved in making sure that I get a chance to be in the running for these festivals and for the bigger events and for the things that I'm used to doing. Also, the people that work in press, the people that work in media. And, I've just seen it across the board. People that are posting about only one side, and they're liking each other's posts, they're commenting and they're sharing each other's posts about this stuff. And then some of them, when I was just on tour, I was saying, in the song called Uncle Sam Goddamn, which is an anti-war song that I've been doing for 15 years. And I've received a lot of backlash for this song over and over and over again. This song has been, at the same time, my biggest song, and it's also been the song that means that people try to silence me across the board. 2007, the song came out. And by the way, Saul Williams, the great Saul Williams, wrote the liner notes for Uncle Sam Goddamn, and he's been posting the newest chapter in this kind of stream of art that I make, a song called The Collapse. And I love Saul Williams to death, and I appreciate him dearly. We haven't spent a whole lot of time around each other, but it's like alikes know each other, And I always say, whenever I reference people like Saul Williams and Chuck D and others, it's like I'm honored and ashamed to be in their tribe and for them to have accepted me. Honored because it means a lot to me, and ashamed because I know that what I do is nothing compared to the reality of what people are experiencing. Like I wish that if the Turkish army were to go into Palestine, I'm there, and my wife knows that. You know what I mean? Like I'm honored I'm honored and ashamed to be in the same religious community as the Palestinians. I'm honored because I know that what contributes to their resilience is also something that I practiced and believe in. And I'm ashamed because the whole Muslim world is doing nothing for them. And I'm honored to be considered part of the circle of Saul Williams and Amir Suleiman and Chuck D and Yassine Bey and Black Thought and all these people that have been so kind and gracious to me to say, yes, you're our brother, you're one of us, But I know what's what. And I know that I'm very honored to be there. And then also, it's like, how have we actually moved the needle? You know what I mean? What have we actually done? And I'm just given some degree of keep going based on the fact that the prophets were told in the Quran. Allah tells the messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, I know it hurts you that they don't listen, but you keep on giving the message. Your job is to deliver the message. And so that's what I focus on, In any case, that song, Uncle Sam Goddamn, has been the anti-war song, has been we are on the side of the oppressed people. We're not on the side of the colonizers. We might be your color, but we're not your kind. We may be, We are on the side of oppressed people. We do not align ourselves with oppressors. And from day one of me releasing this song, there have been people that have like, it's like, oh, we look at your picture and we think we like you, but then you come and you insist on saying this stuff. And just saying it is enough for them to be like, no, we're not going to open our platform to you, And it might not even be that they disagree. It might just be that it's dangerous enough to just be aligned with somebody. There are people losing their jobs from just sharing content. They're not even making their own content. They just share content that somebody else made. Where this is like, hey, the Palestinians are human beings. They've been occupied for almost 100 years, for generations. They've been living under an apartheid, oppressive system for that long. Just sharing that content was the equivalent of having me on your festival, having Brother Ali on your festival. And in the middle of Uncle Sam Goddamn, I always change when the song breaks down. We don't give money to the bums on the corner with us. The song breaks down right there. And I always, that last line before the beat kicks in, I always talk about what is most relevant. So when, whatever is most relevant politically in that moment and is related to the message of Uncle Sam Goddamn, that's what that line is going to be. I changed that line. So this time I say, you know what it is if you're listening to me, free Palestine from the river to the sea. Now, I know that people have twisted and flipped that language to mean all sorts of things. But when I say it, I mean exactly the words that are coming out of my mouth. That those people and that country that have been called that name since before, those people deserve freedom in the entirety of their homeland. And it doesn't mean that other people should die, and it doesn't mean that other people don't have the right to exist. It means you don't have the right to make them slaves. You don't have the right you do not have the right to do that to them. That's what it means. And so promoters of shows were trying to stop me from saying that. And like, yo, I get to say I am the artist. I get to say what I'm saying. And I also want to say it in the most unequivocal way. Like, let's be completely clear that, that I'm completely in support of those people. And in times when people are being truly anti-Semitic, and anti-Semitism is a white supremacist problem. Anti-Semitism isn't an Arab Muslim problem. Anti-Semitism is a white supremacy problem. So when that is the case, then I will always be on the side of the people who are being oppressed. I will always be on the side of the people who are being targeted. And Allah says in the Quran, stand up for justice even when it's against yourself. You know what I'm saying? And I'm in every privileged group except for the fact that I have albinism. And then also the choices that I've made in my life since then. I've chosen to be an outspoken person. I've chosen to be a Muslim. I've chosen to be, public about and clear about the fact that I'm Muslim. Those are all choices that I made. And so I'm in a situation now where like the distributors who said they were going to distribute the record, they backed out of it. Then they never say to you, we're not distributing your record and it's because of this. But they just quietly back away. And everybody gaslights you and everybody makes you think like, no, that's not why. That's not what. Well, what else could it possibly be? And also, how come no other artist on that label has said a mumbling word about the genocide that's going on? How come none of them have said it? They self-censor knowing that if they do, they're at risk of losing your support, and you are not the artist. You're not important. These people in the music industry, I'm sorry, I know a lot of y'all do what you do and you're beautiful, and a lot of y'all are really doing this because you're supporting the artist. And if you do, then you'll also be equally incensed with what's happening. But you people that are in between the artist and the listener, you are not important. You are not more important than the artist, and you're not more important than the listener. You're not more important than the message. You're not more important than the art. Honestly, I'm not more important than the message I have to give. I'm not more important than the practice of the art. So when it sucks for me, and when it's horrible for me, and when it hurts me, and when I'm going through it, all of us artists go through this, which is why I'm like, yeah, I don't agree with a lot of the things that a lot of artists do. But there's always going to be a thing in an artist that recognizes what another artist is going through, even if we don't align all of the time. There's artists that I straight up don't like. I'll never call them out by name. Never. But there's part of me that, and there's one in particular that I really take issue with. And it's not that I don't like him. It's just that there's specific things that I've taken very significant issue with. But I still love him. And he's like, well, what's up with the fact that you say you love me, but then also you got all these issues with me? Because I do love you. Because I really love you. And I relate to you as a human being, and I relate to you as an artist. I know deep down like what you're going through on certain levels. But I also want you to tell the truth. I also know that you know, as we understand it, like we know what that is to go through. But I'm not more important than the art. And there are people that will just take money from artists. And they get paid before we do. And that's the whole way this whole system is set up. Let me just cut to the chase. What I'm saying here is that, and then on top of that, so the only outlet to the world right now is social media. And so the distributor backed out quietly. They just never listened to the music. We sent them, they didn't even listen to it. They didn't even listen to it. We're able to see when people stream the music. They didn't even listen to it. So like we're sitting in your office and you're happy and we have a proven track record and all this stuff. And you know what I'm saying? And then also when it comes to booking shows, all of these promoters trying to stop me from saying what I'm saying, pressuring the other artists to try to tell me not to say what I'm saying. Like, do you understand the conflict of interest that this proposes? And the fact that, so yes, you know, I'm an artist that like, if you put me on a bill, a bunch of people will show up because I'm there. Alhamdulillah. But because there are so few people that are very expressly pro-Palestinian, the pro-humanity of the Palestinian people, that's so rare right now that it's like, well, if we just don't want that on my stage right now, if I'm a promoter and I don't want that on my stage, whether it's them personally not believing it, or whether it's the fact that their sponsors don't like it, or that their partners don't like it, or that, you know, somebody else that's connected to some power and influence and money, and that's really what it's about. People will be like, well, you're just saying this for whatever. No, the power and the influence and the money is always on the side of oppression and war. That's what's happening. That's what's up. The power, the money, the big time stuff is connected to war in all cases. I've seen it over and over and over again. They're connected to oppression. They're connected to, because that's the way that this modern system that we're in, that's the way it works. That's the way it's working out. You follow the money, you find people connected to oppression and war and dehumanizing certain people. You know, there was a time when that was the case for the Jewish people in Europe. It's the Europeans that were killing Jews, that carried out the Holocaust. Not Muslims, not Arabs, that was white people that did that in the name of a secular cause. It wasn't even Christians in the name of Christianity. You may have Christian bias that played into it, but that was white, secular Europeans that carried that out in the name of whiteness, in the name of nationalism, in the name of these secular ideas. So let's just remember where that is. Let's just remember like where that blame really belongs. Let's just remember who really did that stuff. And in the name of what and why. They said straight up why they did it. You follow the money, you always find what's dangerous. It's dangerous to speak on behalf of the humanity, speak up for the humanity of people that the power machine has decided they don't get to be human. And reminding us of their humanity is messing up some bigger project that we have. And so it's easy to find, like, we just don't have to have Brother Ali this year. Let's wait till that thing cools down. Maybe they'll have me back after that's done. But as of right now, and I know what it's like for careers to go through peaks and valleys. I know that. Sometimes you only get invited to little stuff, to smaller stuff. But we're releasing a project right now and 0 interviews, not one. Zero outlets have picked it up, not one. Now, I know what it's like. It's one thing if I go from, my last major project was picked up by Rolling Stone and Billboard and all of that. Okay, maybe we're not going to get that this time because of where my career is really at. Maybe. But nobody? Zero? If you go from bigger things to smaller things, that's understandable. There's years where I was on the main stage at Coachella. and then, and then that's not the case anymore. There's years where I was on all the big festivals. You know what I'm saying? And then there's years where that's not the case anymore. Maybe there's a whole season of your career. Maybe things just get smaller, so you're just on smaller. But no, none. Family, I have zero bookings this summer. Not one. Not one. I am on zero. Festivals, outdoor shows, bigger events, none. Not one. And a good friend of mine, I won't name him right now because I don't know but I have a really good friend who's a very, very serious journalist. And I just reached out and told him what's going on. And he said, oh, so he looked at my social media accounts. He said, Brother Ali, you're being shadow banned. Like, don't be gaslit. You are being shadow banned. 300,000 people chose to follow me on Facebook. I make a post, I get one comment. Post music. Post new Brother Ali music. Not me talking about aid for Palestinians in Gaza. None of that. Post a new music video. One comment. 100,000 followers, 100,000 followers on Instagram or X or whatever the hell. Make a post. Almost no one 3 people retweeted. You know what I mean? Less than a few hundred people even see it. And then we know what just happened with TikTok, and we know that there was just this whole reset of the stuff with Meta. So the one where I have some engagement, where I do still have some level of engagement, is on Instagram. Instagram has a feature that automatically filters what they call political content. And it's a default setting. So if you don't know that, that's automatically set up so that you won't see what they consider to be political content. So what does that mean for artists that we have that as part of our message? And anything can be considered political. Almost anything can be considered political. Especially because culture is always political. There's always a political element to culture. So I'm just saying that, it's the middle of Ramadan. I have this new project coming out, and it is just a very, very deep uphill battle. All we have left right now is social media. And the social media is extremely difficult. And so I'm really glad that we still have some connection directly with people, and that's y'all, So, I'm saying this to just help you understand what's going on here, where I'm at really. Where am I at really? I have a new album, Love and Service, comes out in April. It's a major chapter of my life. It's some of my favorite work I've ever done. The pre-order is up right now. The deluxe vinyl is $55. Honestly, we could have charged $100 easily for what it actually is. We pressed it with the highest grade everything. It's deluxe across the board. Merce was looking at it and he said, man, your fans are used to a really crispy sound. Rhyme Sayers' sound is a big, polished, sound and a polished look. Drone shots in the videos and all this kind of stuff. And I'm saying these are choices I made. So I spent a lot of money making this record sound exactly how it sounds because that's a choice. It's an artistic choice we made. And then also everything has a really deeply human touch and feel to it because of the way that Just made the beats. Just made the beats on the ASR 10. It was during the pandemic. He couldn't even go get records. So Just made the majority of this record sampling informational films for children from the 60s, 70s, 80s. That's how he made the music. And so we kept all the visuals looking like that. And then really organic, organic feel for the packaging. He did it all. And the same guy that made all the music made all of the visuals as well. and they're all different styles. And it's just, I'm extremely happy with what we're offering. And we could have charged $100 for the vinyl because it's deluxe across the board, and that's what people charge for that stuff, But we kept it $55 is the price for the deluxe vinyl, and and then we also have tapes and CDs. I don't know why people still buy tapes and CDs, but they do. Man, I guess people got CDs in their car, and CD players in their car, in their computers, or something like that, or maybe in certain, I don't understand that, but we press some, and that's happening too. But just to let you know where it's really at. This is a very, very difficult time to be an artist in general, but especially if you have this particular message. And the whole album isn't about that. It's not like it's a whole album about and also the fact that my man Just is a Jewish brother. He's an anti-Zionist Jewish brother who has a lot of Muslims in his life. He came from Ohio, went to the Bay for 15 years, worked with hieroglyphics. You know what I'm saying? So talking about Del the Funky Homo Sapien and, Souls of Mischief and Casual and that whole crew. This is the pedigree that he comes from, So it's dope to be able to offer this stuff, but it's also very challenging. And I'm saying this, and I came on here with the idea of talking about you're not alone. But I just wanted to share what's going on with me in this moment. But I'm going to title this one, You're Not Alone. How far am I in already? Okay, half hour, 36 minutes. That's all right. That's okay. You're not alone. I have so many amazing young women in my life. My daughters, me and my wife have 3 daughters. We also have a son who's a grown man. And he's an amazing young man. And I love him to death. He's in America. He didn't come to Turkey with us. I love him so much. He's a really amazing dude. Really amazing. He's growing. He's always been amazing, but he's an amazing person. But I have daughters. I have a teenage daughter and I have 2 little daughters. And a lot of my friends and just people in my circle have preteen and teen and adolescent young women. And separately, so many of them and their parents are going through stuff, just nightmares. And dealing with extreme depression and anxiety and isolation and self-loathing that are manifesting in, and the ways that they're being shown are attempted suicides, are self-harm in the form of things like cutting. Maybe I should give a trigger warning before this. I'm sorry. But eating disorders, people really limiting, almost not eating it, starving themselves. And and I'm seeing it. These are young women and girls that, normally we would look and say, what are the factors that could fortify a young girl, just how difficult it is to be in the world. But what are the factors that would fortify our daughters, our nieces, our younger sisters, what would fortify them against that? Things like having strong parents. We know that when young girls look up to their moms a lot. And so are their moms strong? Are their moms resilient? Are they successful? Are they sources of inspiration? Are they loving? Are they caring? Are they nurturing? Are they communicating with them? Are they in their life? Are they free? Are they incarcerated? Are they liberated from incarceration? Are they liberated from ongoing addictions? Are they people that have achieved something in life? Are they, people that have survived, difficulties that can share wisdom with them? And then we look and say, are there dads in their lives? Are they part of communities? Are they connected to their culture? Do they have outlets? Do they have safe spaces? And for these young girls, the answers to all these questions are yes, almost across the board. These are people that are part of, families that are strong, that are together, that have survived things, that have been through stuff. They're connected to their cultures. They're connected to their communities. They're connected to their traditions. They're connected to, and still. And we see, we talk about first world problems, but it's like, we look in Palestine and so many other places in the world, the Congo and Yemen and all of these places in the world where people are being deliberately starved to death by others. They're being deliberately harmed by others. And then we look at the people that are in the so-called first world, people that are, living in these in these places that are supposed to be, the economic thriving economies and all this stuff. These women are inflicting this stuff upon themselves. And they're absolutely connected. Like, people are experiencing a very, very deep sense of hopelessness, of helplessness, of isolation, of deprivation. And it's like, what do you say to people that are feeling this? It seems universal on different levels. It shows up in different degrees and different levels and different ways. But people are just really in pain. It's like a whole culture of people that are in pain together, that all feel isolated. Some people are dying of starvation. Others are starving themselves or dying from eating too much food or eating the wrong foods. Like, Talib Kweli said one time, over there they're starving. Here the food will kill you. But half of the population of the globe is starving to death. The other half is killing themselves with food. I mean, this is just the reality of the world. It's just really, really profound and deep. So I just wanted to say that the only thing that I can say to people over and over and over is, and to myself, and I'm saying, like, this is in my family too. I'm not saying that, I'm saying this is happening across the board. All I can think to say is you're not alone, both in the sense that other people are going through this, and also in the sense that, I'm saying this in the middle of Ramadan, where Ramadan is speeding past me and all I do is look forward to Ramadan. And, there are all these major, major challenges and just nightmares happening in the world. And so I'm just keep thinking you're not alone, that other people are going through this, but also we're not alone even inside of ourselves. And really what I wish I could communicate to people is that, okay, you don't believe in God. Okay. But I really would just say, please consider that maybe you just don't believe in a certain understanding or iteration of God. And the only reason I say that is not because I'm trying to count how many people convert to Islam with me, or because I want you to be in my team, or because my ego wants you to confirm that I'm right, or because I want to win you over, or because I just want more people in my category and my identity. Because, yeah, man, I have a fully functioning, very robust ego. I know that. But that's not why I'm saying that. I'm saying that because we all have the right to relate to the world of meaning and know that the world of meaning is real and that the world of meaning is able to relate to us. So like, I don't believe that there are many genuine, authentic atheists, and I don't say that to disrespect anybody who identifies that way. But I'm saying the idea that the world of meaning isn't real, that the material world is all there is, that matter is all that is real, and everything else is just imaginary. I don't think that many of the people that I encounter actually believe that in terms of, but what I think is happening, and I'm saying this out of complete, like, I'm with you. I promise you I don't think I'm better than you because I'm a believer or because I'm a Muslim. I really don't think that. I don't think that makes me better than you. I don't think that makes me right and you wrong. I don't think that means that I am somehow more virtuous or whatever than you. But what I think happens is that especially people in the modern world have such a traumatic response to what happened in the creation and in the formation of the modern world. Just to be very frank, what happened when the Abrahamic faiths, and two of them in particular, were co-opted by Europe. When the center of power of those two religions became Europe, which are not their homeland, when Europeans decided that these are actually ours, and they insisted that the others are not as legitimate as them, and then the power associated with that. So what I think is happening in the hearts of the people that I love, who identify as not believing in God, I think they're rejecting what they understand to be God, because when I ask, like, what's the God that you don't believe in, they describe something that is not Allah. And I think that there's a feeling of, like, the people who have claimed to know. So there's another type of people that say, I know that the world of meaning is real. Like, if you do good, does good come back to you? Okay, because that's not a materialist scientific a belief. You know, is it better to do good, beautiful things? Does that benefit you even if you lose money and lose power? Do we respect people that do the right thing even though they're going to lose? Like, you know, is Martin Luther King a loser because he spoke the truth and they killed him? And he died poor, and his enemies defeated him. He told the truth, and his enemies shot him and killed him. Does that mean that his enemies actually won? And we could go on and on and on down the line. He said he had a dream. Did his dream come true? So then how is it that those type of people, why do we love and admire people like that? Why do we love and admire Muhammad Ali, who gave up everything, who was willing to give it all up for what he believed in? They weren't going to actually give him a gun and go make him fight in Vietnam. They just wanted him to bow to the fact that they get to go to Vietnam, that we get to go to anywhere we want and just kill whoever we want. In the name of our modern secular religion of freedom and democracy and all this kind of stuff, we get to say what freedom and democracy is and who it's for. And we get to be complete and utter hypocrites and go kill people and say that it's in the name of freedom and democracy. So we get to go and just bully and beat up on this little nation, and this whole war machine is behind it. And Muhammad Ali, we just want you to bow down to us. We just want you to comply. The spirit of non-compliance is enough that will take your title away from you, will even threaten you with prison. And Muhammad Ali just had the belief to say, take everything away from me. I don't give a damn what you take away from me. Those people aren't my enemy, and I'm not going to go fight them just because you say they're the enemy. They brought him to these campuses with all these white students, these white liberal students that brought him there. And he said, you're my enemy. If I'm going to fight somebody, I'll die right here fighting you. You're the one that opposes me when I want to live life. You're the one that opposes black people when they want to be free. You won't even stand up for my religious beliefs, and you say I'm an American, so why am I going to go fight over there? Just telling the truth. And we talk about being canceled. That man was canceled in real life. That man couldn't work. And before him, Paul Robeson. And before him, so many. Paul Robeson was canceled in real life. So, miss me with that. I wouldn't even say that I'm canceled. I can still figure out how to do something. I'm going to be okay, inshallah. And Muhammad Ali felt the same way. But these people are really canceled. And these people, so why do we admire that so much? We admire it because we deep down have this belief that it's right to tell the truth as you understand it, even when all the power brokers that do have the power to put you in prison and take everything from you and kill you and get away with it, that it's still right to tell the truth. Why? That's not materialism. That is faith. That's belief that the world of meaning is real, that goodness is real, truth is real, beauty is real, mercy is real, love is real, justice is real. I think that in my atheist friends that I love and look up to, and I admire them, and some Muslims would be like, why would you admire the kuffar, brother? Because they're good people, and I don't think I think there's a disconnect there that's a traumatic response to what Europe did when it took hold of Christianity and Judaism. That's what I believe in my bones, because that's what I come from. That when those people, I think that there's a fear that, like, if I claim to know what's true and what's not true about God, that's connected to killing a whole bunch of people and enslaving a whole bunch of people. Once you make a claim like that, then that's automatically dangerous. I'm sorry, not everybody was like that. When they knew the truth and when they had a relationship with God and actually had knowledge about God. This idea that I think it's dangerous to believe that that world of meaning has a personality that I can relate to and that I can talk to. But the only reason I say this is because you're being robbed of the ability to communicate with the divine. Doesn't mean that you have to join an army or join anybody's anything. And when people say, I don't believe in organized religion, you're just talking about what certain white people and then their protesters have done. You're just talking about what what the dominant group of people have by and large done with religion. And it's not even all of them. But you're talking about the appropriation of religion. Like, I love George Carlin. I look up to George Carlin. I wish I could be a fraction of the wordsmith that man was. I love him. I admire him. I'm an artist and he's an artist. He sacrificed to tell the truth. George Carlin did what Imam Ghazali did. George Carlin did what Muhammad Ali did. George Carlin did what George Carlin did what I'm in Istanbul trying to do. George Carlin was successful on TV wearing a suit. He wanted to be a comedian. He showed up and was a comedian. You know what I'm saying? He figured out how to do it. He put a suit on. He got on TV and he did what was, just like Richard Pryor did. And at some point he's like, I'm not being honest to myself. I'm not being honest to my community. I'm going to risk it all. And Pryor did the same thing. Chappelle did the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I've become successful. Yes, Comedy Central has given me $50 million. But man, no matter what I do, these people are trying to turn my art into something that I don't want it to be. And every white hip hop artist that really came up in hip hop and were like taught and trained and loved and treated as an equal and treated as an artist. We know that we are liked by a lot of people for racist ass reasons. And you talk to any real person that comes from that world. Eminem, a lot of what drove Elvis crazy is that. A lot of because Elvis in his heart of hearts is still an artist. He stole a bunch of stuff, but he also obviously loved the art. And he's like, damn it. I think that's a lot of what drove Elvis crazy. Also he's the first person to ever be that famous, and that's not natural. You know what I'm saying? But That's one of the realities that artists live with. But I'm saying George Carlin went through all this stuff. And George Carlin is like, man, religion is so-and-so. And like, I'm sorry you don't know. I'm sorry that you don't know other religions. One of the things that modern Western white supremacy does is it negates everything that comes before it and makes false universal claims about itself. And so what we do in response to it is it says we're the only people, we're the most legitimate advanced people. And so religion is what we say it is. So if you reject our religion, then you're rejecting all religion, because it creates this world where once you look at spiritual wisdom traditions, even when you say the word religion, you're just talking about white religion. You're not talking about anybody else's religion. So just say white religion. Let's just say what it is. Let's just say what it is. It's white religion. It's European religion. It's European. It's the religion of white European power attached to Middle Eastern religion, non-white religions. How did Christianity become? How did a Palestinian Jewish person? How did the center of power become European? And Zionism is European Judaism. It's not Middle Eastern. It's European. And shout to all my dope-ass Europeans in every tradition that know the truth and are happy to tell the truth, no matter what it costs them. Shout to all of the incredible, European descendant Jewish truth tellers that are like, yo, this isn't me. Shout to Sim Kernan, Unjust. Shout to my friend Unjust, who's an ad executive, who told me when the collapse video drops, there's a very good chance I could lose my job. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. So it's like, well, then why are we doing this? And he's like, because it's the least I can do. I rock with people like that. And those people have no problem telling the truth about what whiteness is, what white supremacy is, what Europe is. Even the idea of Europe. It's a construct. And so how did Christianity become a white religion, a European religion? How did the center of power in the world for Christianity become European? And that's not unrelated. And you got to make all these caveats. So like, I don't hate you. I don't hate my Christian friends. I don't hate my white Christian friends. I don't hate my white Jewish friends. As people, I look up to you. I'm saying, but man, shout out to the white Christian truth tellers, Father Flager. Why is Father Flager so dope? He's like, you know who I want to speak at my church? Farrakhan. And just hugging all of, But shout to, Chris Hedges. Chris Hedges gave it all away. He gave it all back. He was a bureau chief at the New York Times. And he stood up and told the truth about the war the first time in the early 2000s. Stood up and told the truth. He's like, I know what war looks like. All these people that are banging the war drums, you're not going to go in there and hold the bodies of dying and dead people. You're not going to do that. You're going to send poor black, brown, and white people in there and poor white people in there to do that for you. And they're just going to push buttons and drop bombs. You cowards are dropping bombs. You cowards are dropping bombs. You cowards have drones and bombs that do the dirty work for you. You can't go in there and do that stuff for real. And that's what Malcolm said. What is America running? America's supposed to be bad. You got the highest technologically advanced army in the world, Malcolm said it when Vietnam was going on. You go in there and these rice eaters are going from bush to bush and from man to man and just cutting your throats and sneaking off into another bush somewhere. And you can't deal with that. You're not built like that. And I'm telling you, you're not built like the Palestinians. Neither am I. On a heart level, I am, but I've never experienced what they've experienced. But I tell you, I'm willing to sacrifice what I'm able to. I'm willing to sacrifice telling the truth in my music because I can't live being other than that. I don't want a Grammy if it means that I got to placate and pander to certain stuff. I don't want to be a millionaire if it means I got to do those things. And I've seen very few people become millionaires not doing those things. I've seen way more become millionaires by self-censoring and by playing the game on one level or another. Some of them pretend to be revolutionaries and they do what's safe for them to do. Or they already did the safe stuff and they already did what was on the agenda and they got their money and now they want respect. And so now they're telling the truth now that they got all their money by playing the game. Now they want respect. We'll see if it works out. But I'm saying all this to say that so many times we are robbing ourselves of the idea that somebody else might be able to connect us to truth, because European white supremacist European worldview negates everything before it. And they say and then anything else, we are the center of the universe. So if you go learn about somebody else's spiritual tradition or wisdom tradition, it's just going to be a black, foreign, ethnic, kind of, ethnic-y, just kind of version of ours. Islam is probably just a browner, weirder kind of Christianity. But just take what you know of Christianity and superimpose it onto Islam. Take what you know about our conception of God as a man in the sky damning people and just make them brown. And that's probably what their Allah is. I'm telling you, you're not alone in the suffering that we're going through, and neither am I. I'm not alone. And also we're not alone in the world beyond what we're experiencing. The source of meaning can be you can have a relationship with the source of meaning. That's all. That's it. These things are really hard to communicate about. They're really hard to talk about. And I'm just going to keep on trying. And a lot of people have picked up the Quran and read it, since what happened since this round of what's going on in the Middle East. And I get a lot of people hit me up all the time. It's also one of the ways that if you want to know me personally, but I can't give you this, and you can't fake it. Nobody fakes it. But if if there's a thing inside you that's like, oh my God, I think Islam might be true, and I think I might be a Muslim. People that hit me up like that, you can get all my time. You can get all my, you know what I'm saying? But I got to feel like we're connected, and I got to feel like you're sincere. But that's really what I wanted to share. And I don't even feel successful in sharing it right now, But what if the material world isn't all there is? What if, how is it possible that you have a personality, that someone can have a relationship, that you're capable of a relationship, but the source of what brought you to being isn't? Does that make sense? People feel the universe. A lot of people say the universe. And do you mean the planet Jupiter? What do you mean by the universe? Let's nail down, what do you mean by the universe? Because I've never heard an explanation of that that's coherent. And I'm sorry, it doesn't stand up to questioning. And I'm not questioning it because I'm trying to prove you wrong and I'm trying to win an argument. But I'm saying, by the universe, what most people, if they were able to describe what they mean, what you're getting at is pointing at the actual understanding of Allah. And it's not a claim to superiority or the right to kill other people or govern or rule the world, to say that God is a reality that's possible for us to have an adequate understanding that allows us to interact with and be interacting with the source of all meaning. There are certain things that are objectively true about the Creator, about the divine, about the world of meaning. There is a reality where the divine essence, the eternal, the eternal, the true, the one, the source of all mercy, the source of all love. How is love real and it has no source? How is mercy real and it has no source? How is truth real and it has no source? How is beauty real and it has no source? The thing that was brought into being that has a beginning and an end and changes in between the beginning and the end. If it has a beginning, it has to be brought into existence by something. And it's impossible that the thing that creates something and brings it into being doesn't have what it creates. The carpenter is more than the table. And the fact that there's a table means there was a carpenter. And that carpenter, there's no way that that table is capable of things that the carpenter isn't capable of. And if all things have a beginning and an end and change in between, then all things have begun by the one thing that does not change. The one thing. And the one thing that never changes is the truth and its source, is mercy and its source, is beauty and its source, is justice and its source, is love and its source, is guidance and its source. And is there danger in religion? Absolutely. But there's danger in everything. But the danger isn't in the religion. The danger is in... So now, okay, let's say it's a leap from that point to like, okay, yes, there is something. That's what I'm talking about. La ilaha illallah. And we will have... And none of the false conceptions about that source can be acknowledged. Like we have to start by acknowledging that nothing other than the source of it all is it. And so most of us, when we're rejecting all these things, what we're rejecting is a limited false notion about what the source of it all is. And we would just say that those things. And then also the real source, the world of meaning, has to be our priority. And we have to strive to be compliant with, at peace with, in harmony with, pleasing to the world of meaning. Can the world of meaning be different varying degrees of happy and unhappy with me? Because that's what we're talking about. We talk about relating to Allah, submitting to Allah, being in harmony with Allah, being in good standing with Allah. I promise you that if you say like, oh, there's no God, I promise you're holding some idea of God that's not true. And I'm not saying this because I want you to be down with my team. I'm saying this because we have the right and we have the need, the necessity. The soul isn't alone. You have a soul. You're a soul. You are a soul. That's all I'm saying. And if you're a soul, then something brought your soul into existence and being, and your soul is incomplete without being connected to what it's to its origin. That's all. You don't have to join my team and learn my book and all that stuff. But then once you get to that point, what if, okay, what if my parents weren't right about religion, but what if there is something true out there that can be known? What if there really is a message out there that's only true? And yeah, some of the people, yes, okay, none of the Muslims have ever embodied it totally. That's what we believe. The person who embodied it totally was the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And I'm sure you've been told all kind of crazy lies about him. But that's the only person that we believe embodies it. To be a Muslim doesn't mean that you have to be subservient to any other person. We say, I don't believe in organized religion. Okay, there's no organization you have to join if you're a Muslim. There's no person on earth. There's no government. There's no particular mosque. There's no particular teacher that you have to obey. So you don't believe in organized religion. Abdul Hakim Murad, Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad, he says, well, it's not that organized. I know somebody that said to him, I never thought I'd join an organized religion. And Abdul Hakim Moran, who's also a convert, says, it's not that organized. Because there is no Ottoman Empire. There's no thing that you have to be beholden to. Like I have teachers that I would take their advice, but I chose that. And if I leave them, I'm still a Muslim. They'll tell you I'm still a Muslim. If I were to part ways with all of them, there was a person that I would have done anything this person told me to do. And I was deceived by them. Whether or not they intended it or whatever, I don't know. They showed me a version of themselves that made me believe in them and their program completely. I've had experiences where people are like, well, can't you be misled in the God? Yes. Haven't you also had that in art? Haven't you also had that in love? Haven't you also had that do anything that's about anything, and you'll see that's what human beings do to each other. And all of those things just make me know that none of these human beings are going to embody it. Community is not. My political ideas are not. My music isn't even going to. My family isn't going to. My beloved isn't going to. My workout plan and my identity. None of these things that are in this temporal world are stand-ins for being connected with the eternal, absolute, undying, eternal, without beginning, without end, the necessary being, the source of all things. Only that reality is undying and perfect. And so at the end of it all and at the beginning of it all, and what serves me best is to be in constant seeking of that thing. And that thing, Allah, that reality, is not a thing. Allah is not a thing. I mean, one of the ways that we get to know Allah, one of the things that we're told in theology is start with the reality that anything you and anyone else can conceive of is not God, is not Allah. Start with that. So whatever you're rejecting is not Allah. You've not rejected God. Now, you might reject certain things about God. And that's basically what theology is saying. There are certain things that are true and there are certain things that are untrue. There are certain things about God that are true, and there are certain things about God that are not true. And there are certain things that are necessary. And then also there are certain things that are fundamental, and there are certain things that we can understand differently. And that's okay. It's Christianity. Sorry, my Christian friends. It's Christianity that had entire wars over small theological differences. A lot of times, I'm saying, if you are a Christian that comes from the dominated white world, the dominant white world, whether you're white or not, that world creates false universals. And one of the evils of that is that when we reject it with false universals. They say religion is this. No, that's just what you say religion is. And so we say, well, religion is bad because I'm rejecting that now. But you don't know. You don't know. I'm sorry. You don't know what Native people, what all the First Nations, indigenous, original peoples believed. You don't know. And when you get all the original people's beliefs together, you're going to see certain prototypes, and a lot of them believe the same things. A lot of them insist, especially at their core essence, on certain truths. So we say, La ilaha illallah. That nobody's little individual conception of God is God. Those are false ideas of God. The second I try to own it, the second it's about me, the second it's confined and restricted to my ideas, that's not Allah I'm talking about. That's some false idol. And then also, nothing should be more important in my life. Nothing should be the God of my life other than the source of all meaning, rather than absolute goodness, absolute truth. And so when we say we say words like that, we get scared, we get jumpy. We have traumatic responses to those because we are the children of a civilization that was created by false claims and false ownership over truth. And at its core, that's what white supremacy is. At its core, it's like we're the only humans. And just being a person with less melanin doesn't mean that legally that's who we are. That's the reality in the world that we inherit. But I don't give a damn what anybody says. I don't identify with that concept. I'm not that. And for me and for a lot of other people, that's part of what being a Muslim means to us. And for everybody, being a Muslim means that I am not beholden to anything or anyone or any structure or anything before the source of all meaning. And it is possible to have a relationship with the source of all meaning. It's possible, and that source of all meaning is what we mean when we say Allah. Just let the heart say Allah, because that's not any person and that's not any group and it's not anybody. Now, we may find people, and I have people, I'm going to go to West Africa and visit a person that I believe is a real saint. You don't have to believe that. No Muslim has to believe that. You don't have to believe that, but I do. And I can't, I don't believe there's a world where that person would ever prove to be something different. But if they did, it doesn't change my relationship with Allah. And when I say you're not alone, what I'm saying is I'm not alone either. Because ultimately, any problem that I have, I'm going to take it back to Allah. It's ultimately going to be, the ultimate one that I am going to complain to is Allah. And I can break down and I can, and taking all those problems to Allah is ultimately going to let me know that at the beginning and in the end and in the eternal beginning, in the eternal before, in the eternal after, and in the eternal now, that's what really matters. And Allah is never unjust, and there is nothing in the religion of Islam that sanctifies any injustice of any kind. People abusing they're abusing anybody, any person abusing any other person, that is not sanctioned by Islam. Period. No exceptions. No person abusing and harming and abusing another person is sanctioned by Islam, period. From the biggest humanitarian war crimes to the smallest infraction, to saying to our mothers, to even the little subtle things that we do to each other. Just little subtle undermining, little subtle gaslighting, little subtle things. Just little subtle, petty things that we just do. I'm going to tell you one right now. Somebody does something wrong to me, they make a mistake with me. Even in my most intimate relationships, in my house, I just get quiet. And I punish you by me just taking my energy back for a little bit. I said that's not sanctioned by Islam. And I shouldn't think that it's small. And the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the only pure, perfect Muslim, would never do such a thing. He never abused anybody. He never abused anybody in the smallest, infinite, minute detail. Never. And so any harm done by anybody else is not sanctioned by the divine. But does it happen? Yes, obviously, all the time. And at the root and the core of Islam, and the root and the core of the relationship between us and the divine, is that we're in need of tremendous mercy. We need mercy. We need grace. We need mercy. We're not going to get anything. Nothing. We are in absolute, utter, and constant need, perpetual need of mercy. We're needy with God. We're needy with Allah. We're in a constant state of neediness with Allah. But that's part of the loving relationship between us and Allah, is that any distance between us and Allah is always us putting it there. Any distance between us and the divine, Allah never puts distance between us. Allah said, I was a hidden treasure and I love to be known, and I created creation to know me. And particularly the human being, part of why we make mistakes and come back is so that we rediscover Allah. And that we live, if we're sincere, we live in knowing how needy we are with Allah. Now, that doesn't make us weak with other human beings. Matter of fact, when we meet other human beings, it's like, I am utterly in need of Allah, and so are you. And whether you have the upper hand over me or I have the upper hand over you, it's just temporary. And all of us are going to die. And when you die, your meaning doesn't die. Your body dies. Your meaning does not die. What we did doesn't die. Our souls don't die. Our heart doesn't die. The only thing that dies is what's temporary. But what was permanent never dies. And so I would also say that those of us that say we don't believe in God, we actually have to be God then. If there's not a God, then you have to be God. And that's too much. It's not possible. You can't be Martin Luther King's paradise. If there's no paradise, then what happens to Martin Luther King? His enemies killed him. He didn't get what he set out to do. He dedicated his whole life to his dream. He didn't get his dream. So what? He's a loser? He lost? His enemies won? No. Well, we remember him. Okay. So you're his afterlife? Is my heart worthy of the sacrifice that man made? That I remember him? How often do I forget him? How often do I think of Martin Luther King? How many times have I forgotten Martin Luther King since I learned about him and what he gave? Or whatever, any other person that you can think of like that. Whoever that is to you, Che Guevara, whoever that is to you. Their enemies killed them. So what? So are they losers? They didn't get what they wanted. Are they losers? And if they're not, then why not? Well, because I'm holding them. Okay, how many times have you forgotten them how many moments and how many breaths? Because so what, they're dead when you forget them? So your God and your heart is paradise? Because you're not capable of that, and neither am I. And neither are any of us. I'm not capable of being your paradise. My mother died when I was 24 or something like that. How many moments, how many breaths have I breathed where I didn't even think about the woman who risked and gave her life to give me birth? And then what did I do when I was angry with her? What words have I said? Have I spoken ill of her? So am I her paradise? What does she get in return for birthing me? And even if I spent all my days just serving my mom, is that enough? Can I give enough? Can I give anybody enough? Can I give my wife enough? Can I give my wife enough? That woman didn't even know me. She married an albino dude who looks weird. I was fat, still fat. Not as fat as I was. Actually, I'm trying to get back to the weight that I was when I met her. Damn it. Yeah, I'm even more fat than I was. She married this dude. Have I always been good to her? Have I always made her feel like what she is? In reality? Have I ever loved that woman like she deserves to be loved? Tell the truth. Tell the truth. The Muslims, as soon as we get done praying, as soon as we get done making salat, we say, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah. Allah forgive me, Allah forgive me, Allah forgive me. So we've never worshipped Allah like Allah deserves to be worshipped. So at the core of it all is mercy. And Allah says, my mercy is greater than my justice, which is why the people in the spiritual path is like, yeah, we call for justice, but honestly what we want is mercy. And you say Islam is a religion of peace. Well, what about peace, peace, peace? Well, salam, it means peace, but it means wholeness. It means to be right. It means to be whole. That's what it actually means. So like, we're not just talking about peace. We're talking about wholeness. We're talking about being well. We're talking about, so yes, we want peace, but people have to be made whole. People have to be able to be full human beings. You can't ask people to be peaceful unless they're whole. Really what I'm saying is, you're not alone. Your soul isn't alone. You're a soul. Do you really think you're not? You really think you don't have a soul? And if you have a soul, does the universe that we talk about, does the universe have a soul? And are we just avoiding having a relationship with Allah because we don't want to repeat the mistakes of the people in the past? And because we're only because we're aware of how wrong things can go. Things can go very wrong with religion. I'm not denying that on every level. But I mean, how wrong do things go when you have children? How wrong can things go when you fall in love? How wrong can things go when you chase your dream? How wrong can things go? I mean, we've all got political opinions, and we want our political opinions to be the norm. We want our worldview to be the dominant worldview. That's what America is. Everybody's fighting to try to normalize their worldview. But don't you know that how wrong that could go? Like, don't you know that? The people that you want to be in control, don't you know those people could become tyrants overnight? Don't you know that don't you know that you can be a tyrant? Don't you know that you are a tyrant? I am a tyrant. I am a tyrant. I'm a tyrant. On some level, we all are. Like, this is what we all are on some level. My body doesn't want to be 50 pounds overweight, but it's just like, well, my ego wants what I want. I want to eat what I want to eat. I want to sit down. I got the money to buy what I want. I got the privacy to eat it without judgment. I can get somebody to deliver it to me. They don't even know who they're delivering this stuff to. And I can sit and eat it in privacy. I'm a tyrant over myself. I'm killing my body by doing this. I'm a tyrant. You know what I'm saying? I'm a tyrant. On some level, that's not all I am, but I am. I want things that are harmful to myself. I want things that are harmful to other people. I know it. I mean, once you start learning, like who suffers for my chocolate? Who suffers for my computer? Who suffers for my phone? Who suffers for me to, buy a cheap T-shirt on tour and throw it away because I don't have time. I don't have time to do laundry this week on tour. Who suffers for that? Who suffers for all of this stuff that goes on? I know it. I know it. How many times? I've got these small little angelic babies, these kids. How many times have I just screamed at them because I just want them to do what I want them to do when I want them to do it? How many times have I just used the fact that I'm bigger than them, my voice is louder than theirs, I control their food, I control their stuff? How many times have I been a tyrant to them? Just be real with yourself. Just be real with yourself. We live in need of mercy. And the thing that's stopping us from being good and doing the right thing and not taking more than what we need and not oppressing ourselves and others is our ego. And that's also the thing saying, and also look at, is a big part of why I don't want to believe in something greater than myself, is a big part of why I don't want to be part of because we just think about religion as rules. And if you're just thinking about religion as rules, then like, why don't I want to follow rules? What if those rules are right? At the end of it, does it come back to like, I want to be God? I just want to do whatever I want? Because, and what I'm saying is at the core of all of it is, don't gaslight yourself. You know you're a soul, and you know your soul is looking to connect to something, and our soul will be disappointed by everything temporal, including ourselves. And primarily our disappointments are with our own ego. The only thing stopping me from doing everything right is my ego. The only thing keeping me doing everything wrong is my ego. That's it. So my biggest enemy is my ego. And my ego loves things that are bad for me. And my ego hates the things that are good for me. And so wisdom is learning to overcome the ego. That's what being wise is. That's what being disciplined is learning to overcome our egos so that our soul can be the boss. La ilaha illallah means that my soul will be the boss of me, that my soul will be in the community of myself. My intellect and my spirit will be how I live my life, not my ego. And this and my heart will be the barometer for where I'm really at. And that ultimately the world of meaning, it's not just that not just the meaning of me has a soul, but that the world of meaning can be related to, has the ability to have a relationship. I don't have abilities that the source of it all doesn't have. How do I have a personality and that thing doesn't? And so let's not gaslight ourselves. Doesn't mean you got, again, this is not me saying be a Muslim, but be a Muslim. But do whatever you're called to do. But we're not alone. Our souls are not alone. And the one thing that nobody can take from us, and this is what we see in oppressed people all over again and again and again and again and again. I mean, we see it in Anne Frank, and we see it in, all of these people that suffer on a material level, and their soul is bright and beautiful and forgiving and loving. How is that possible? Because it's the essence of being. It's at the core of being. That there is the source of all mercy is what's at the root of, and what really the cause of everything that is. So, I don't know. Sometimes I hear myself talking, I'm just like, you know what, just be quiet, man. Just stop it. But what keeps me coming back is the connection between us. What keeps me talking is the connection between us and the connection with the truth. I want to connect to Allah and I want to connect to you. And and however that ends up, if that's used for any type of good, if that ends up meaning something good or being a good experience for people, that's really Allah doing that. That's really Allah doing that. And if it's a bad experience, then it's probably something related to some sort of deficiency or oversight or blind spot inside me. And so I have to ask you to forgive me. And if I've said anything offensive, or if I've demeaned anybody, or anything like that, I'd ask you to forgive me, because that's really not the intention. But I am limited, and so there are things that I don't consider. There are things that I don't see, and so we hurt each other, and we're in need of grace, and we're in need of mercy. And the ability to forgive others comes from a deep knowledge of the mercy and the grace that we need. We have that, it's easy to forgive. We have that, it's easy to love. We have that, it's easy. The degree to which we have that is the degree to which we find ourselves lovers, truth tellers, servants, instruments of light, instruments of beauty. Our hearts become receptacles of light the more we understand that we are in need. And that doesn't make us bow to other people. And that's the part that the bastardization, that the appropriation, that false religion, that's its biggest crime. That's its biggest crime. Is to take this idea that it's very similar to what I was saying about the music industry, that I'm going to be the middleman between you and God, and you're beholden to me. I'm going to take the fact that you're real and God is real, and I'm going to make myself the power broker between you and God. There's no power broker between you and God. Just like these people make themselves the power brokers between the artist and the listener. And they actually you should hear how they talk to us. You should hear the way that you should hear the way they talk to us. It is just like the gravitas of somebody who produces nothing is just amazing. So if I've said anything that feels hurtful or if I've said anything that pushes you away, please forgive me for that. Please be the bigger person and forgive me for that. I'm going to wrap it up. I love you all. I pray that you're well. Yeah. I really genuinely care about everybody that's part of this. You mean a lot to me. And a lot of times I wish I had like the boom, like that's the moment. I don't think I really have that here, or maybe that it already was there. But I love you all beyond words. I really hope that next week BK will have the episode ready, or maybe it'll end up being 2 episodes. But you can hear from me and my man Unjust, who made this album together, Love and Service. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu wa Ramadan Mubarak.